I finally saw the new Elvis movie starring Tom Hanks and Austin Butler, and it's alright. It was interesting, but it's not necessarily one I would watch again. This movie follows the rise and decline of Elvis Presley from the perspective of his corrupt manager played by Tom Hanks. I noticed that all these stories about famous musicians go the same way. The musicians have a tough childhood with absent parents, but they work hard and become famous. Then they are overwhelmed by the fame. They begin shirking their family and friends. People say, "What happened to you? I don't know you anymore." Then drugs get involved. Then they get hosed by the record label. Then they have a redemption moment, etc. If you love your kids, then don't let them go into the music business. I was entertained by this movie because I learned a lot about Elvis's career that I didn't know before. I didn't know that he grew up poor in the South. I didn't know he was friends with B.B. King, and I didn't know he died at the age of 42. I was also very entertained by the many concert scenes. Butler does a great Elvis impersonation, and the live performances are very fun to watch. The best scene in the movie is when they show his first big live performance and they splice it with flashbacks of Elvis growing up in the poverty-stricken South in a predominantly black American neighborhood, and he stumbles on a Christian revival meeting. They show him being overcome by the Holy Spirit at the meeting, and he starts shaking uncontrollably to the music. And then we cut to seeing Elvis shaking on stage while the girls start freaking out, and it was a lot of fun and well done. The biggest problems I have with the movie are Tom Hanks and the editing. I don't know the gentleman that Hanks is trying to imitate, so it's possible that he did the most perfect imitation of all time, but regardless, his accent sounds so fake and his fat suit prosthetics are not convincing at all. Again, maybe it was an accurate impression, but I can't help it. It looked and sounded terrible. And it's even worse because he's narrating the movie and he takes up a lot of screen time. The editing is weird, and I didn't like how it didn't commit to a specific style. It feels like the editing team threw everything in the kitchen sink at this movie just for the sake of doing it, with a lot of wacky transitions and montages where the camera zooms around to different computer-generated locations. Sometimes the movie frames are cut up like a comic book panel because Elvis liked the Captain Marvel Shazam comics. Ferris wheels at the carnival morph into roulette tables, then hand-drawn animated words pop up in the middle of a scene. It was very distracting. They also have a problem with using too many quick cuts to mash a bunch of separate scenes together. For example, Elvis will be about to perform a live show, and while he's walking to the stage, it quickly cuts to a meeting with Tom Hanks and evil Southern politicians conspiring against Elvis. Then it cuts to an embarrassing show he did a few nights before with people laughing at him. Then it cuts to his mom saying something when he was a kid. Then it cuts to some wisdom he got from B.B. King. And the cuts get faster and faster and the audio gets louder and louder. And then it goes silent. And then the performance starts. It would be cool if they did this once or twice, but they do it over and over again, and it wore me out. I think it's worth a watch if you have any interest in the story of Elvis, but wait for this one to come out on streaming. This movie is also a one-and-done kind of viewing experience. Today's movie quote is, "How about Tallulah?"